Okay, now let's talk about assertions in JUnit, or assert calls in JUnit. So basically, an assertion is how you tell the test whether it passed or failed. It's the actual test to see if the data came out the way you expected it, right? So there are these are the basic assertions that you use to find out if your tests are what you expect. Okay, so you have assert equals, which compares two values and tells you if they're the same. You have assert true, which you basically give it a message and a boolean, and if it's true, it won't fail, and if it's false, it'll fail. If you do assert false, if it's true, it fails, and if it's false, it doesn't fail. If you assert null, if it's null, it passes. If it's not null, it fails. And if you assert not null, if it's null, it fails, and if it's not null, it passes. Right? These are always hard to remember, but you'll get the hang of it. So let's go through a bunch of these right now. So here's the code we had a minute ago with the before test, the before class, before test, after, situation, and after class, and that went really well. So what we want to do is we're going to get rid of this, and we're going to show you on a basic level what these other assertions look like, right? So let's see, should we leave this? We'll comment it out for now. No, we'll take it out. We can type. No, we're typing. So let's go ahead and we're going to make some very generic tests here, okay? So the first assertion we're going to look at is one that just you can inject and just say fail. So we have this, we have our @test annotation, and then we're going to define the actual method for that test, and we're going to keep very generic words here. So we're going to call one test1, and then test1 is just going to be, and we didn't even talk about this assertion, there's an assertion and it's called fail, and all this assertion does is fail and give you the message, hey, in whatever message you want, you failed, and then toss our semicolon, and then notice right now that this method is not here. Well, we have to import the assert library. So we're going to import the whole assert library, and that just showed up right there. Okay, and these classes are no longer used, so we can get rid of them right now if we want to or not. It doesn't matter. So we've added this test. This is not a test right now. This is just a method that nobody's calling. Okay, and then so we're going to right click, we're going to run JUnit test. Okay, bam, our test ran and it failed, and you can know it's a fail because of this blue X. It says one failure, and that failure has a blue X. Okay, and if we would have no annotation in here or no assertion, so we'll do a blank one just to show you what that looks like. We'll call this one test2, and then it doesn't do anything. We can right click, run as JUnit test, boom. So we have our two tests, and so we know that passing is a green checkbox, failing is a X, right? So we have one fails, 2 out of 2 ran, 1 failed. So we know that, and then we know that this assertion was, hey, you failed. Okay, so in fact, what I would rather do actually is give more information and say test1, hey, you failed, and then just add information so that when we're running these tests, we get free information. So we're going to leave test1 here. We're going to leave test2 here because test2 is just what happens by default, right? And then let's go ahead and we're going to add a test3. And then let's keep some sort of naming convention here, right? Sorry. By default, we use camel case. I code in too many languages sometimes. So there's too many naming conventions to remember. Okay, so now we have test 3, and we're going to use the assert true test here, okay? So we're going to have assert true, and then our message is going to be test 3, assert true test, compare 1 equal 1. And so this is just our message to the world, and we're going to say fail, and then comma, and then now you can do boolean, so we could type in true or false, or we could say 1 equals, we could do a quick comparison and say 1 equals 1, and now we're going to run these tests. Where to fail at here? No semicolon, Rico. Shoot. Well, okay, so this test errored out, and what we can do is we can rerun this test. And that one test ran and just passed again. Okay, so we just ran a single test, right? And then so we can rerun the test we just ran. We can have it show us failures only, but now back to running all the tests. Boop, boop. Okay. Alright, so now we have all 3 tests. 1 failed, 2 passed, right? And then so if we were comparing 1 to 0 here, so we're asserting true, and if it's not true, it's going to error out and return this message, right? So now we're going to rerun test 3 just because it's easier, and then we can see test 3 failed, and then we'll rerun all 3 tests, so that you can see that fail, pass, fail, right? So then let's put this back to a 1 equals 1. That way you've seen that, how this one works. And I'm going to copy and paste. This is always the death kiss, isn't it? And then we're going to assert false here, okay? Copy and paste is the death kiss because you never remember to make all the changes you need, right? So we're asserting false. On test 3, test 4, test compare 1 equals 0, and then if this is false, which it is right now, then it's not going to return a message. But if this is true, then it's going to return a message. So let's verify that. We're going to go run all of our tests again. And I'm keeping all these tests in here so that you have examples, okay, of these assertions and how to use them. So notice it passed, and then if I make these equal and rerun this test, it failed. Okay, it failed that test. So perfect. Alright, so we're going to leave this one as false, so you have a good example ahead of you here. And then we're going to go with test 5. Again, notice I'm copying this at test for every one of these, okay? So test 5 is, we're going to use assert equals. And we're going to compare 1 to 1. And so in this case, you don't pass in a boolean or a boolean expression, you pass in 2 values. So we have 1 and we have 1. So it's going to test to see if these 2 values are equal. If they're equal, nothing happens. If they're not equal, that message gets thrown. We understand that? I'm sure we do. We'll run. Say OK, and then bam, it passed, right? And so then now let's test the fail scenario. 1 equals 0. Retest, and it fails that test. Okay, and then also notice that the assertions this whole time, and I can't believe I didn't show you. they all show up here. Okay, so these all show up here, and then you get that extra information. It says it expected a 1, but it got a 0, right? And so it gives you all this extra information, and that's built in this framework here. Okay, so it's great. It's great information, I think, because you need to know what your tests are and be able to watch the steps, and these are very important. So then the last one I want to do, there's assert null and assert not null. We'll do the assert null and we'll do the assert not null both right now here. Test 5, test 6, test 6, null. And so this one only takes these two parameters, the message and null or not null. So we're going to pass in the null value, and we're going to run the tests. And then see, so we passed in null. Oh, I didn't change this part. Null. Let's fix that. Run our test. We'll put this back to a true statement. So we ran our test passed, and then if we put in the number 5 here and rerun the test, our test fails. Okay, and then so we'll do not null really fast. Name this one test 7. Copy and paste. It's already getting my laziness factor here, right? So test 7, we're going to pass in a not null value. This should pass. I'll run it. I should have just started using the shortcut key by here. It's alright. I like driving these things. So this passes. We'll put this back to a pass state. And then we're going to change it to null. And we're going to rerun the test. And the test is going to fail. Perfect. So we've gone through all of these assertions in JUnit to kind of express how we use them. Okay, and so you should be able to do everything you need to do with these assertions. Yeah, I can't think of anything you can't do without these assertions. And for the most part, everything that we've showed you here is cross-compatible with testng. Okay, so just so we understand that part, a lot of it is cross-compatible with testng, but this is definitely the way we do it in JUnit. Okay, thanks for doing this course. In the next course, we're actually going to slow down and start designing our real tests here. Okay, so we're going to actually start creating an account in Udemy and start running tests against that account. Logging in, playing videos, and things like that, and then we're gonna push some bounds, I'm sure. But I really do think that you guys will find this useful. Okay, thanks, guys.